What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and some pretty big updates in the Diddy trial, including the judge exploding on Diddy's lawyer for some specifically inflammatory comments he made during jury selection, as well as, for some reason, Kamala Harris's name is getting mixed in here. Obviously, we've already heard, Kid Cudi, Kanye West, Mike Myers, the Austin Powers actor. Just because they're named in the trial, by the way, doesn't mean that they've done anything wrong. But this trial could collapse Hollywood. I hope it does. We all know, based on what was going on with Harvey, remember that? Most of those people participated willingly in trading their body for promotions and movies and this, that, and the other thing. And as it sits right now, I believe everything is possible in terms of what's being claimed with Diddy. On top of that, I have a second update later. You're not going to want to miss that video of a bizarre connection that just came out between Diddy and a Trump lunatic guy that tried to take out one of his hotels. Well, let's get into this. Huge reminder. Only, what is it? Today, Thursday? No, today's Wednesday. So only 3 days ish left to get your Mother's Day gift box. It's our delicious blueberry cobbler, our Colombian roast, honey sticks, yogurt covered pretzels, and chocolate covered espresso beans, as well as a K-cup adapter. So if the person you're giving it to doesn't have, a traditional coffee pot, they can still use all this stuff. It's $10 off plus free overnight shipping. Our goal is, we're 250 shy of our goal right now for the day. I'm hoping you'll pick yours up. Maybe you just want to sample everything we have, which this would be a great way to do it too. Link in the description and pin comment. Or you can just go to Amazon and type in Coffee Brand Coffee Mother's Day box, and I'm sure it'll come up. So here we have the latest in the trial updates, latest on jury selection as defense and prosecutors are now facing off. Let's see if this video adds anything. Nope, pointless. Jury selection in a Diddy ongoing trial is continuing as the one-time mogul's attorneys and prosecutors face off over the pivotal panel. By the way, today, we should have the jury locked in, which means the trial could start as soon as next week. So make sure you give this channel a follow, because I'll probably be doing daily updates as more testimony comes out and more people's names get named here. I still think that we might see a last-minute plea deal. I still think we see a last-minute plea deal here. What do you think about this? You know how I believe that he's a Fed asset, just like Jeffrey was. I think there's an actual possibility that right before trial, he comes to an agreement, some short amount of jail time, and we never get any names. Mark it here right now, timestamp it 3 minutes into this video. That's what I think. There's at least a 25% chance that happens. Prosecutors and attorneys reconvene in Manhattan today to continue their interviews for prospective jurors in the high-profile legal proceeding. Jurors have questioned one by one by Judge Aaron Subramanian, the prosecution and the defense, to determine their qualifications to serve. Lawyers previously said they plan to question as many as 150 potential jurors, with each questionnaire lasting 20 to 30 minutes. On May 5th, the judge deemed 19 qualified to serve, while 16 jurors were selected on May 6th. Federal prosecutors need to identify 45 qualified jurors to continue with opening statements. Jurors on May 6th were repeatedly asked if they are a family member or friend had ever been a victim of, Diddy type behavior alleged. By the way, again, my opinion is this: Diddy did most of what they said he did, but also I think that 95% of the people participating in it with him were doing it willingly or begrudgingly to advance their career. I have a hard time believing that Diddy took anything that wasn't offered to him, or that he took anything that wasn't traded, because I just know how Hollywood and the music industry works. During his final pretrial hearing back on May 2nd, Combs confirmed that he turned down a potential plea deal for the case. A judge previously rejected a request from the rapper's legal team to delay the start of the trial. Combs faces life in prison if convicted. Again, I already talked about Michael B. Jordan, Mike Myers, Kid Cudi. They're all kind of a part of the trial. It doesn't mean that they, were taking any taking any part in any of his parties or anything like that. But now, I just want to stay on the jury for a second here. The judge, so the jury is expected to be seated Wednesday. That's today. After a slow start in the second day of jury selection, Diddy's racketeering and trafficking trial, lawyers signals the jury could be seated as early as today. Yeah, I'd say that. I'd say that's probably true.
Engaged in prostitution charges, 5 counts.
All right, questioning if things could get delayed, talking about how it seemed like a slow day. Well, it turns out the judge thought so too. A lot of people were dismissed today, whether it was because of potential bias or conflicts. But he basically told both sides they have to get this done so that opening statements can begin as scheduled on Monday. As he said, they're running out of...
Again, opening statements on Monday. So we could have some pretty, I don't know if we're going to hear any names on Monday, probably not in opening statements, but it's going to be, this is not going to be televised. So you're going to, I'm going to probably have 1 or 2 videos a day during this.
Of time. Now, as it stands, there are 35 prospective jurors in the pool, and they need to reach a pool of 45 before narrowing that down
to find 10
and
today.
seating 12 jurors plus alternates. And both sides agreed it is likely they could get this done tomorrow, so we will be keeping a close eye on that.
All right, Rena, thank you.
So what we really know about the jurors, well, they're very concerned with their skin colors. First of all, also, Diddy accused of attempting to influence jurors in the trafficking trial. I don't know if there's no evidence of that. There's going to be a lot of, part of what my job is to do is to report on what's out there, but also try to, cut through some of the clickbait and lies. White and black guys dominated day 2 of jury selection. Diddy's defense team of federal prosecutors are adding 16 more potential jurors to the pool. One of them has strong feelings about, very strong feelings about that video of him in the hotel. After 2 days of jury selection, there now are a total of 35 people in the jury pool. Today's selection breakdowns: 5 white men, 4 black men, 3 black women, 2 white women, 1 Latino man, 1 woman whose ethnicity wasn't clear. Perhaps the most interesting selection among the group was a man who had already told the judge that he'd seen the hotel surveillance video of Diddy, and he said Diddy looked angry and hostile and entitled during the brutal scene. I can't believe this guy made it through. There's no way he makes it through to the final 12. That information was not enough for the judge to excuse him. Obviously, prosecutors would not and didn't take issue with the juror who's had those feelings, but the defense did not object either. That's very, very, very odd. Also very interesting. The jury in this trial will not be sequestered. What does that mean? Well, being sequestered means that you sit in like a hotel the whole time. You don't get to watch the news. You have to just, be bored for the duration of the trial. The problem is that means that these people can get got then. People can figure out who they are. They can buy them off. They can do all sorts of stuff like that. So jury tampering, I'm shocked that they are not sequestering this jury. Like, literally, I am completely shocked. On top of that, the judge, well, we get to the Kamala Harris thing here. Diddy's trial judge snaps at a lawyer for calling prosecutors a 6-pack of white women. Diddy's trial judge sharply criticized a lawyer who called prosecutors a 6-pack of white women. The judge overseeing the criminal trafficking trial of Diddy sharply criticized a member of his family's legal team in a closed-door meeting, calling comments he made on the TMZ podcast outrageous. In a Tuesday morning meeting, U.S. District Court's Aaron Subramanian robing room, the judge lambasted the lawyer, Mark Garagos, for describing the all-female prosecution team as a 6-pack of white women. Is that wrong? It doesn't seem like that's an incorrect, based on what I've heard, that does not seem like an incorrect assessment of who they are. When you say things on a podcast like 6 women, all white, my understanding is that you've got a 6-pack of white women. Subramanian told Garagos, according to a court transcript of the meeting, like that's not something that you shouldn't be. No one should be saying that as an officer of the court and a member of the bar. The lawyer, a criminal defense attorney, who has represented Michael Jackson and Hunter Biden, among other bold-faced names, spoke about the Combs case on a Friday episode of Two Angry Men, a podcast he co-hosts with TMZ founder Harvey Levin. In addition to describing them as a 6-pack of white women, He also said the prosecutors mischaracterized the surveillance video where Combs pummeled his former partner, Cassie Ventura, in a hotel, saying that Combs was upset because he took her phone. Have you ever had a situation where your significant other took your cell phone? He said on a podcast, and then does that take you from 0 to 60 really quick? Submarinian admonished him for the comments about the prosecutors, saying that he violated a court rule barring lawyers involved in ongoing cases from making extrajudicial comments. Yeah, I would imagine that is there's a case for that for good reason. You know, I'm more concerned about that juror that they allowed to come through who already has a predisposed negative opinion about Diddy. Now, that said, the other 11 jurors are going to see that video, and there is literally zero context that makes that video okay. I'm not going to show it here. I'm happy to invite anybody on my show. Perhaps we'll do some interviews during the trial who wants to defend what he did in that case. The best thing his legal team can probably do for that is by simply saying, well, that's not what he's on trial for. You know, he paid that woman a bunch of money. She didn't sue him. She didn't press charges. That's not what he's on trial for. You can't hold that against him because he's not on trial for pummeling her. And that's true. On the first day of the Diddy trial, there was an elephant in the courtroom. It's been almost 8 months. It was rainy. On Monday, one of the biggest trials in recent entertainment history kicked off with the first day of jury selection. We talked about that. Even in the overflow, we could feel the elephant in the room. Cassie Ventura Combs, former partner who is credited with kicking off the entire series of legal events with her bombshell civil suit, filed against Combs back in 2023. Even though Combs shockingly settled the suit a day later, Cassie's suit has still opened the floodgates to the deluge of civil suits. She is presumed to be a central witness of the trial's prosecution. Cassie's dominance as a major name in the claims against Combs only increased after a major piece of news before Combs' arrest when they really, had that security footage. She's going to be on the stand, and she could absolutely sink him. Now, there is obviously Kamala Harris getting dragged into this. Kamala Harris tweet thanking Sean Diddy Combs resurfaces after his arrest. Didn't age well. Thank you, Diddy, for hosting this town hall last night. There's a lot at stake for our communities right now. I mean, that doesn't actually mean that she was at any of these parties. Would I assume she was at any of these parties? Yeah, probably. Very, very likely. That said, this was also going around. Kamala Harris at the Met Gala on the same night, her name pops up on a Diddy court document looking like Cruella de Vil simulation. So this video is going all around. Stacey Abrams, Kamala Harris, Congressman Maxine Waters. Well, I am here, like I said, to bring truth and also to debunk things. This is not a Diddy list. You see, this is not an official court doc. This is a photo of a monitor of an old leak that I've had for years. It was an anonymous leak, and it showed up on 4chan, and nobody really knows, if it's technically from the court case or if it's from interactions with Diddy. This was an anonymous leak. So it isn't from the court case, but it doesn't mean that it's not true. So this is a list that's been around for a while, like Meek Mill, Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, Sofia Vergara, a who's who of Hollywood people that have been connected to Diddy. So it's going to be interesting to see if that comes up in court at all. Make sure you keep it locked in here with a subscribe or a follow so you never miss a story or an update, and we'll talk to you again real soon.